From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, February the 6th, 2024. Fierce fighting continues between Israeli troops and terror group Hamas in Gaza today, and the IDF announced the death of 30-year-old Major David Shakuri, killed in battle today in the northern Gaza Strip. Israeli troops continue eliminating terrorists and terror infrastructure in Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held meetings in Egypt and Qatar today to try and move along efforts to reach an agreement between Israel and terror group Hamas for the release of the hostages still being held captive in Gaza. According to the Times of Israel, Blinken said that Washington is reviewing a response from Hamas to that potential agreement, that agreement that would see Hamas release hostages in exchange for an extended pause in fighting in Gaza and the release of Palestinian security prisoners. Blinken told a joint press conference in Doha today that this potential agreement was still being negotiated.
There's still a lot of work to be done, but we continue to believe that an agreement is possible and indeed essential, and we will continue to work relentlessly to achieve it. As we do this, we will continue to use every tool available to us to reach an extended pause that gets hostages out, that gets more assistance in, that brings calm to Gaza's civilians, and that keeps diplomacy moving forward toward an integrated and more secure region.
Blinken will visit Israel tomorrow and will reportedly discuss that potential agreement with Israeli officials. Israel continues to defend its border with Lebanon. The IDF said today a number of launches were detected that crossed the territory of Lebanon towards the north of Israel. 2 IDF soldiers were lightly injured as a result and were taken to the hospital for treatment. The IDF attacked the sources of the fire with artillery, it said, also noting that Israeli fighter jets hit an observation post and terrorist infrastructure used by the Iranian-backed Lebanese-based Hezbollah terror group. And in the West Bank today, the IDF said an armed terrorist approached a military position near Nablus. He was shot dead by Israeli soldiers guarding the position. The New York Times published a report today claiming that at least 32 hostages of the 136 being held in Gaza are dead, citing 4 anonymous military officials. That number is actually slightly higher than what the IDF has previously said. The Times of Israel cited IDF spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari saying in response to the New York Times article tonight that the IDF has so far notified the families of 31 hostages that their loved ones are confirmed to have been killed. They include, he said, 29 hostages kidnapped by terrorists on October the 7th, all of which have been announced over the past months by the IDF, and soldiers Staff Sergeant Oron Shaul and Lieutenant Hadar Golden, whose remains have been held by Hamas since 2014. The IDF also reportedly saying it is assessing unconfirmed intelligence in the New York Times report that claims that some 20 additional hostages may also have been killed. Argentinian President Javier Milei arrived in Israel today, greeted on the tarmac by Israel's Foreign Minister Yisrael Katz. Milei, wearing a dog tag in solidarity with the hostages being held in Gaza, told Katz he was there in solidarity and in support of Israel, and that, as he said he would, he will move Argentina's embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. Milei met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who said he welcomes the fact that the president has kept his promise about moving the embassy. The two will meet tomorrow, the Prime Minister's office said, and will discuss the continued tightening of bilateral relations. Milei also met with Israel's President Isaac Herzog and visited the Kotel, the Western Wall in Jerusalem's Old City. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Tuesday, February the 6th. At 7 o'clock, Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch talks about human imperfections. At 7:30, Laura Bialis discusses her documentary Vishniak. At 8, it's a conversation about the importance of folklore in both the Black and Jewish communities with Eric K. Ward, Nadine Epstein, Adam Mansbach, and Langston Collin Wilkins in a program of Moment Magazine's Wide River Project. At 9, it's Jeffrey Gurock on L'chaim. At 10, Susannah Heschel talks about her father, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel's relationship with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And coming up next is the ILTV's Insider. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, February the 6th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.